Hey, what's up, guys? Jordan Hardison, CEO of AIO.Church. Good evening. Thanks for joining me tonight. Real quick, if you haven't been to the channel before, you're new to the channel, then hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and join with me on this journey. Just want to talk to you a little bit about what I'm going to do here in this session. So I've been doing these Build With Me sessions, and the idea here is to show you the inner workings of what's going on with the AIO ecosystem, the different products that we use to code, and I want to invite you in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to talk a little bit while I'm going, explain what I'm trying to do, but it's kind of hard to think about what I'm doing while I'm explaining it at the same time. So there might be some times where I'm quiet, but in this session, I'm going to try to use the voice mode. So instead of typing out what's being said, you have to read it that way. I'm just going to talk to the agent, let the agent know what I want it to do, and then you can see that happen in real time. So I'm going to get started here in this session. Right now, just a little bit of backstory. I am working on AIO.Church. It's a product that's been in development for 6 years now, had a full development team of senior developers. We have since now moved to this new world of AI development. We've rebuilt the project, and I believe that AIO.Church is currently the most powerful church management software in the world. It's an operating system, or very similar to an operating system, built by and on AI and an AI platform, and we've created an AI system called Redefine AI. Now in this video, I'm going to intentionally speak pretty openly to the AI. I'm not going to speak very technically to the AI, although I have found that this is one of the best ways to talk to the AI, and really, instead of restricting the AI, let the AI do what it thinks it needs to do in order to be successful. So you're going to hear me talking like that. Hey, if you have any thoughts, drop them in the comments, code with me live, and we are going to jump in. Now, one more thing before we do is we are using the AIO Assist development platform in order to build this product. We've been building that. We've been using that for quite a while with the product now. That's continuing to get better. So I'm going to work on AIO.Church tonight. I'm also working on a new feature that's going to run with version 0.9 in AIO Assist. It's going to be coming soon, which is a remote control of it. So you'll see me working on that as well. But a couple things with AIO Assist, I'll jump into it right now so you can see it. So with AIO Assist, some of the things to keep in mind is that we're actually able to control different rules that we've given to the system. Right now, I'm using the Claude Code harness in AIO Assist. It's using Opus 4.8. I've got 2 different Max 20x accounts. If we hit a limit, we'll jump over to the next one. But keep in mind that even though this is using Claude Code, it's actually getting a bunch of project rules injected into the system prompt before it hits the LLM, and we can talk about that kind of as we go. But let's jump into what we're working on right now. Now, as I pull this up, if you do see any client information, know that this is staging information. It's not real information. We're running on a staging server right now. Also, we're using DigitalOcean to host the product, and DigitalOcean is hosting our staging server. So you'll see me push to DigitalOcean, which is actually the first thing I'm going to do here. I'm going to go to deploy. I'm going to go to staging, click deploy now, and then that's going to push right there for me. The cool thing about that is it's going to use my own compute. So right now I'm using a MacBook Pro. It's an M3 Max with 128 gigs of unified memory, 2 terabytes of storage. So what that's going to do is it's going to use the compute of my own local device to run the build, and then it's going to push it onto the DigitalOcean droplet. So let me jump in here. Again, if you have any thoughts, any comments, throw them in the comments. I'm going to try to jump up here and look through the comments as we get into this project. But if you're interested in how people are using this on a larger scale product, this is a great example of this. Our product here, it's a mono repo, so it includes all of the elements of the AIO system all in one repo. Everything from the mobile app to the desktop app to the AIO.Church product, as well as the AIO.Corp and AIO agency product. It's all going to be in one mono repo, and we do that because AIO Assist can actually work on multiple projects, multiple repos at a time, but it's a lot easier for it to jump back and forth and make changes. As we make changes to the back end, we make changes to the mobile app, and yeah, so we'll go from there. So let's get into this. The topic at hand right now is I am working on optimizing the platform side of it. So AIO.Church is a product, but we use the same product for our own CMS. And so for that CMS, we're adding an additional optimization into our threads communication and lead tracking system so that the AI can actually generate leads for us and then do the follow-up for those leads. It's a pretty simple system, but the way we want to do it is a little bit more complicated, and I'll take a second to explain that. So with AIO.Church, what it does is our communication system keeps a communication thread, and so between me and whoever else, like the client that I'm speaking with, what that's going to do is it's going to keep all of the any conversation or contact that I've had with the client is going to stay in one continuous thread. So if there's an email exchange, it's going to be in the thread. If there's a SMS, it's going to be in the thread. If there's a phone call, it's going to be in the thread. And now we've also added meetings. Meetings is our video call system that transcribes the meeting, creates a summary, does all that for us. And so that's actually going to show up in a thread as well. And so the nice thing about that is that when the AI goes to follow up with the person or with the client, what it can do is it can go and it can read the entire conversation history so that it knows how and what to reply. The other thing too is that there's a tendency for people to really try to bottleneck the AI or really limit it because it's indeterministic. One of the approaches that we have taken that's been really successful for us is we do have some hard-coded limits that it can't do. So if it sends, we might throw away tokens, but if it sends a signal that it's not supposed to, we have some hard-coded limits that stop it. But what we really want to do is we want to get the AI to do as much of the reasoning as it can on its own. So one of the things we're building right now is something that we're calling specialist. And specialist, it's a little bit different than agents. It's kind of like a skill that's going to attach to our main AI agentic flow that we've created called Ray. And what it's going to do is it's going to take that core system prompt that Ray uses. It's going to add additional instructions on top of it. And we're adding a tool call that is going to tell it when it should reply after it sent a message with no reply from the client. And one of the unique things is instead of just setting this on a cron job or a timer, we are going to let the LLM decide when it should reply next if the client doesn't reply, and then it will trigger that reply automatically. We've given it parameters that it has to live by, but that allows the AI to really control the entire follow-up process and to decide dynamically how long it should wait before it should talk to the client again. So that's what we're working on right now, as well as our communication system. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to start talking to this. We do have on the right side the orchestrator. The orchestrator is able to take on a bunch of different tasks and throw them to the worker threads. But I'm going to be working with the worker threads directly tonight just so I have a little bit more control of the process and what's going on, and then we'll see that that's running in the background. So let's jump in. I'm going to read ahead here and see what it did last, and I'm going to jump in from there. Okay, the specialist wired into the core right now. That means every wake-up system prompt is core. That's perfect. Personality plus format. That's what we want. So the core is going to be our conversation history and tiering system that we use. Okay, org identity, org learned rules, user profile, system memory is perfect. Okay, so what we want it to do is we have it. It's a self-learning agent, so it's learning about who we are and learning about our organization. We want it to have all that context when it's writing. The voice owner is the leads assigned to. That's great. The user profile is what gets injected. So the specialist talks. That's great. Let's see where we're at here. Every wake must terminate with one of those three terminal tools of the runner falls back to the band, min, and flags. Okay, I do not like fallbacks. Fallbacks hide issues, but that's okay. Let's see what we got. Tools, special zones. Send lead message is perfect. Send follow-up timer. Awesome, okay. So similar to how Ray works in communications, where it's able to follow up with a message that's sent, we want to make sure that Ray is able to decide what communication method it wants to use. So it can either use an email as a reply, or it can initiate a new email with a subject, or it can reply as an SMS. So it should decide how it should reply when it replies as well. And then with every reply, of course, it should always send the timer signal so that it knows how long it should wait before it replies again after a dead signal. Okay, audit the phone call transcript functionality and check it one more time, audit it, make sure everything's wired up and we haven't missed anything. looks like messaging, clients, subscription, intercom, support, kids check-in, blog site builder. Okay. We should have a skill for and a default worker thread for not just kids check-in, but the entire NextGen system. Kids check-in is a function within the NextGen system. So audit that and see if we already have a skill for NextGen. All right, the supervised man kiosk work is already committed. We're going to check that here in just a minute. That's good. Let's see where we're at here. You're describing the ideal, and you're right. That is how it should work. Let's see. It replies too much. I don't have time to read all this. Let's see. So yes, to get pixel identity. I want your replies to be shorter so that it's easier for me to read. So make sure your replies are shorter next time. Why is it having such a hard time duplicating the UI if the UI is already structured that way? Why not just call the main component? We want to do it the best, most efficient, professional way possible, no shortcuts. All right, we'll get that started there. Go back and check on these here. Okay, yes, the NextGen skill already exists and it's correctly scoped in the whole. Check it. Okay, so I want you to audit and review the NextGen skill and make sure that it has all of the different tool calls that we need. If we add any tool calls, we need to make sure we add those tool calls to the master tool call list, the MD in the documentation. So check that, and if there's any tool calls that are different, make sure you fix them and audit to make sure that they all represent the correct tool calls. Let's see, why are the following follow specialist now decides channel on every send, channel SMS email, that's fine, requires for email. Okay, we have a lot of good information in the Ray sales mode, so check that out because there is specific system prompt instructions on how to handle sales, and so we should take a look at that in order to build out the actual specific special instructions for the specialist so it knows how and when to respond in order to increase the chance of closing. For example, it should never use the term, hey, I'm following up. All right, found the answer. Here's what's hard. Can this be done safely without breaking AIO Assist? All right, let's take a second and go into the application so you can see it here. All right, if I go into Chrome, we do have a browser built into AIO Assist, but I'm going to use it in Chrome for now. What I want to do is I want to check out this kiosk in NextGen. So I'm going to go to NextGen here, let this load up. All right, we can go to settings. We're going to go to stations, add a station. Test station. This is going to be alright, this is going to be the staff desk. No, let's see. Parent submits a request. Service, self-serve instant. Parents check themselves in and the label prints immediately. We don't want that. Parents submit a request. A team member accepts. Okay. It at a staffed desk. Okay, so this is the staff desk right here. That's what I thought. So we're going to go in here. Check-in station is going to be the staffed desk. Let's see. Let's take a look at it. Alright, check-in desk. We can definitely improve this UI. So we have incoming requests, no pending check-ins, queue clear, approved and denied requests. So we need to make sure we have a checked-in list, a printer desk, and we'll put that in. Okay. So we'll copy that. We're going to go back over to Assist here. Clean up this UI, make sure you use reusable components, make sure it's on theme. And we need to make sure that we include clearly who is checked in with an ability to search all of the people who are checked in. Next to everyone who's checked in should be the button to be able to reprint the label. Data, VSR sockets, okay. Split each component into presentation container, okay. Assist, keep calling. Is this the best way to handle it? The goal is for us to be able to essentially remote into AIO Assist from the web app. It's not going to be the exact same UI, but we certainly want the same UI components being used. For example, the view may be different even though the components are the same. Alright, full chain verified. Here's the audit phone scope. Okay, great. Gap 1 found and fixed. The real one, no migration for the call transit column. The column was handed. Okay. There we go. Make sure you run the migration on staging and production. Alright, sales playbook wired into domain guidelines at package. Okay, open list kills, I'm following up, just checking in. Perfect. Forbidden phrases like no, I'll send you, no. As an AI, every nudge must change angle, explicit escalating ladder by attempted count. Lead with impact, no features. Okay, that's good. Doctor method, one with. Excellent. So is the system prompt completely designed for the specialist? Also, is that specialist wired into the automation node? There we go. All right, just a second here. Excellent. So we're going to commit and push to staging. All right, that's checking that there. This is the gap. Let's see what we got here. 7 new tools, 14 total. That's good. Is there any use for the sandbox ability to write a JS script? All right, let's see here. Should answer yes, but with one. Okay, go ahead and make the change. Okay, system prompt yes complete. Perfect. Automation node not wired. This is the gap. Okay, you need to go ahead and wire up the automation node. So this particular specialist should be the only drop down in that node right now, since it's the only specialist that we have. Okay, make sure these new tools are listed in the list of tools, MD, I don't remember what it's called, and then also make sure this is included in the MCP. So again, one of the things that I've noticed is the AI is trained to interact like a human. So rather than being extremely specific and technical with it, I found it a lot better for me to spend less time thinking about what I wanted to tell it. It's better for me to go back and fix it if I need to. Okay, very cool tool inventory, that's what it is. All right, work tree is clean, everything is pushed, excellent. We'll wait for that to finish before we do a commit, or before we push to staging, or a deploy to staging. Mock messages map clearly to local messages. Excellent. NextGen is registered in the skill registry. MCP uses list MCP tools. Okay. All right. One thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go over here, get a new panel going, open that back up, and I think I had one for OS. What we did is we shifted the UI to be more like an operating system. Okay, that's fine. I'll do a new conversation. There's an issue with the UI that's making it break the operating system style. What happens is when you open up a particular window, let's say AIO Cloud as an app, it opens up on top of the other window as it should. But the problem is when we go back and we click on another window, it refreshes that window instead of keeping it where it was. So it should operate more like an operating system like Mac OS, where you open up an application and then when you click on another application, it pulls that application to the front without refreshing and reloading the entire application. All right, let's see. Cool, that's working. The supervised main kiosk is cleaned up now, etc. Commit and push to staging. Okay, that's good. Excellent, so that's working there. So we'll check on this here. Do a quick check. That's still loading, okay. Okay, both are in place. The MCP tool list, or the master tool list MD, that's good. MCP inclusion is there. That's great. So what we're doing is we're building an MCP server that allows us to use AIO Assist to operate any of the tool calls within the AIO.Church system. And we've had people ask us if we can use different models for Ray, and we don't want people to use that. So we want people to use the LLM that we have selected on the back end for Ray. We really don't want them changing the LLM. And that's because Ray is really tuned to work very well with its LLM that we've chosen, and also for pricing purposes, it makes it a lot easier for us to calculate. Now, so what we're doing is we're allowing the full access of the AIO.Church system through an MCP, which allows anybody to use whatever harness and whatever LLM they want to use. All right. When we showed the product at NRB conference in Nashville earlier in the year, we had a lot of amazing responses to it. And keep in mind, it's not just a vibe coded product. This is a product that's been in development for 6 years, and now it's fun to kind of work with it here with AI. But people were really impressed with the product, and some of the potential power users were asking for the ability to use some of the more powerful models. And so I think this is the way to achieve that. All right, where are we at here? Let's see. Wired up. Summary of what ships, drop-down UI, added, specialist, registry. Okay, great. Node editor panel, excellent. Flow builder, canvas. Okay, runtime, dispatch, follow specialist. Okay, looking good. Net effect, dropping a specialist node into any automation flow now hands the lead off to the autonomous flow. That's great. Okay. Commit and push to staging. Audit the code. You should see that we now have a specialist that handles leads. One of the things that I want to figure out how to do is give some sort of UI indication when that specialist is handling a particular lead in the thread with that customer, and that kind of gives us an idea that the specialist has been handling that lead before we just go in and manually interject a message. So right now Ray has the ability to respond to a customer directly, and we have a global setting, but we need to improve the UI of where we can set that global setting. I need to go ahead and name this thread before I forget. So this is going to be, this is the kids check-in system. Nope. That's the kids check-in system. So what is this? Let's go back here. Oh, this is the MCP. Okay. AIO.Church MCP setup. So one of the cool things, it's important to label these threads because the orchestrator is able to go in and see all these threads, and that's how it knows what it should assign to each thread. I'm going to leave that open there for now. This is push to staging. That's great. Web app for AIO. How are we doing here? Okay, that's still working. Could define why. Yeah, okay, so this is OS. Let me get rid of that. Okay. I like to do this too. Make sure the entire code base is pushed. That way we can update it all at once here. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. We've got a bug with the computer use in AIO Assist that we're going to fix soon. There we go. This is our browser built into AIO Assist. That's looking pretty good. Okay, let's see here. Jordan's MacBook Pro. That's fine. I still do not like this UI. Yeah, I don't like it. What it should be the orchestrator should be the main view. We can work on that later. Okay, you got the desktop. That's a problem. We're not talking about the desktop, we're talking about AIO.Church. The responsive view should really start with just the main orchestrator chat with the toolbar on the left side, exactly like you would see in AIO Assist. And then what we can do is figure out how to expand or open up or switch to different worker threads from within that UI point. This is talking specifically about the web app version where we remote in. Let's see, would I build a live special handling pill on the communications thread header? That's fine. I imagine this being similar to the pill in the header that we had when Ray was in auto mode, for example. Okay, that's perfect. Commit and push to staging. Now the next thing we need to figure out is what system prompt is Ray using in auto mode when it's replying to messages in the thread. Alright, we'll go ahead and deploy this to staging now. I want to be more clear about what's happening. What's actually happening is we're opening up one app within the web app, and then we're opening up a second app, and then when we go back to that first app, it's reloading it instead of just flipping back over to it. Perfect. That should get the idea of what I'm talking about. Here's the answer. There are 2 AI reply engines in communications, and only one is the auto mode thread reply path. Auto mode thread reply. When email lands, the contact Ray mode. Okay, that's great. It stitches these sections together, joined by, okay, personality, the shared Ray core personality from, yeah, messaging mode, modifier. Catch with flagging in the auto reply call. Okay, we need to modify that. It needs to start with the Ray core mode and then apply the organization information as well as the user information, so the learned profile, so that it knows how to talk on behalf of the user, and then the specific instructions on how it should work. One other thing we need to look at too is making sure that Ray can identify when it's in a loop. So for example, when it sends a message to somebody, if there's an auto reply that they're out of the office, we don't want Ray to immediately send a message back, causing a loop. This is getting closer, but still not good. The sizing of the orchestrator is not good. The left toolbar is not correct. I think this can be better. You know, one of the things this reminds me of is I worked in audio video lighting. I was an A1 front of house audio engineer, and one of the things that I remember is training an individual, a very good friend of mine, but he's a very, very good audio engineer, and we were getting ready for a show, and he was actually working on the EQ for a snare drum, and he worked on that EQ for a snare drum for quite a long time during the sound check, and finally I had to go over to him and tell him that he needed to move on for the rest of the sound check. And the reality is that even though he's such a good audio engineer, he could make it just beautiful sounding snare drum. But if he's not able to focus on the entirety of the drum kit or the entirety of the band, we were never going to get through a sound check, and it was ultimately not going to be a good product at the end of the day. And I find that to be true with this development process as well, is that and I keep harping on this, but we can be very, very specific on exactly how we talk to the AI, be very technical with it, give it specific instructions, and maybe we would even save some tokens. But the idea here is that we want to get as much done as efficiently as possible, and letting it go and using it, leaving more for the AI to decide dynamically, again, has led to much better results, especially with a product of this size, because the structure of the project is pretty clear at this point in time. Plus, it's getting a bunch of rules injected with all of these prompts as I'm talking. So what I'm saying to it is not exactly what's going to the LLM. It's getting more rules injected to the system prompt. So by doing that, using AIO Assist, I'm able to speak a little bit more lazy, a little bit more natural to it. And the result of that is I get a whole lot more done a lot faster than trying to be super specific with the AI. One day I'll do another video and I'll show you kind of how I use AIO Assist more than just this. I mean, I'm just showing you really the worker threads and the deploy feature, but there's so much here within AIO Assist that's incredibly powerful. Just while this is running this session, I'll give you an example. One thing that we've done is we have a meetings feature that's built into AIO Assist. So what we can do is we can schedule a meeting, and then we can actually send that meeting link out to a client. Client can join the meeting with us. We can have a meeting with the client, discuss the project, discuss what they want changed, and then the AI can obviously go in and begin building that product. And recently, just as an example, we had a CMS project. It was a pretty simple project, not too complicated, but we were really pushing the limits of what we were able to do at that price point. And the project ended up closing around $5,000, and it was very, very, very low, very, very low budget for what it was. The cool thing about it is that we were able to actually get the meeting, get the instructions, and we did it as a proof of concept because we got the meeting, we got the instructions from the client. The AI immediately went in, it built the product. Again, it's building it with a bunch of rules that are placed on top of it, on top of the system prompt, so it knows how to build the product. It's not just completely one-shotting it by any means. There's a lot of rules that are baked into it as well, but it was able to go in, it was able to build the product, and it actually built the MVP of the product before we could get a proposal to the client, which worked out really well because then when we went to the client with a proposal, we were able to show them the MVP, and it did that virtually by itself, and it just goes to show, I mean, how much more capability is going into AI, and not just AI printing money for you, but using AI as a tool on an existing company or an existing process that you're currently using. awesome. Let's check on these threads over here. These are the ones we really want to get done. Okay, let's see how this is doing. Done. Here's what's changed. Okay. Prompt now starts from array core layered correctly select. Okay. All right, cool. Let's commit that. Commit and push to staging. Now, what I'll probably do, we need to create in the communications settings, we need an option to where we can set the global mode for Ray. Make sure this does not damage the URL navigation. There's still an issue with the icons in the toolbar on the left. Alright, so what we'll do now while this is running, what we're doing is we're making it so that you can log in to AIO Assist on the web app, and you can actually go in and you can control your computer session that's running. Let's see here, we can refresh this, see if this improved this at all. It's still not good. Let's see. We'll move out of the active desk. Yeah, I don't know about that. Checked in. Yeah, I don't know. I don't love it. Let's see here. Cool, so I'll show you a few things here that we've been working on. One big thing we've been working on, or most of it is in communications here. So we have an activity thread, and what this is these are the emails that are coming in. This is a meeting, for example. We need to be able to click on this meeting to be able to see the meeting details. And then this is where we toggle between email and SMS, and then we can jump in here to Ray and put off or approval mode or auto mode on. Cool. We added this so we can jump into a meeting. We need to fix that modal so that it's not appearing there and it's not a... Yeah, okay, so some UI issues here. Okay. Yeah, we need to fix that as well. Basically, I'm thinking for the external invitees, we want to be able to search for people in the contacts or put in. So let's just go ahead and put that in here. Commit and push to staging, and then on the meetings modal, when it comes to external invitees, that's a little bit confusing. Because Jordan Hardison is not an external invitee. Jordan Hardison would be an attendee. And then the other thing we were working on was automation. So if we go over here to automations, this is where we would hit plus for an automation. We can zoom out. That shouldn't say specialist, that should say Ray. We come in here, we drop this on, we click here. Specialist, lead follow-up specialist. That's the one we were just talking about. What do we want it to be able to do? SMS, send emails, max outbound touches, total outbound messages across the life of this thread. This, I don't know if I agree with this. Give up if no reply for 14 days. Quiet hours, contact overnight. Let's back that up to 8 p.m. That works fine. Alright, that's fine. We need unlimited options here as well. Alright. We can go back and clean that up later. These buttons are wrong. That's the reload. In this case, it's going to help me, but that's the issue that we want to fix, because we don't want it to do that. That also shouldn't be appearing there. We can fix that too. And then we need to be able to click on the meeting. We need to be able to click on this meeting in order to reveal meeting details, like summary, transcript, etc. Who calls the buttons carried only? Okay, let's see. All right, where are we at here? Yeah, but it needs to have the same. It's going to need the same buttons and icons that AIO Assist has. And so if you missed it in my other video, what I've done is, the app is really, it's difficult to run the entire app in development mode connected to a local database, just because in development mode the app is so, it's a huge application. And so what I do instead is I have a sandbox app, and I'm able to load UI components into the sandbox app and run that locally, and that allows me to work on those components and work on the UI of those components in real time without having to deploy them to staging. So that's typically what I do when I'm working UI changes that are pretty significant. I'll iterate in the sandbox, and then I will then go back and push them to the main application. Alright, so we're going to finish just these last couple things here, and then we will call it for this coding session. Surprised we haven't hit a limit yet. Usually get about an hour and a half. Well, it hasn't been that long. Done, verified. Commit and push to staging. Okay, we'll go ahead and fix that too while we're at it. So we go to automations. Yeah, that should not say specialist. This should not say specialist, it should say Ray, R-A-I. Is the staffed kiosk completely wired in so it will work end to end, so that when somebody fills out a check-in, the approval is going to go to the staff kiosk and then they can approve it and the kid will be checked in? Same with the checkout? Yeah, let's make sure that's right. Commit and push to staging. Commit and push to staging. Oh yeah, you're still over here. Let's go over there. Okay. Okay, you need to make sure you have checkout wired as well, just like check-in. Now, different than AIO Assist, when we click on this button in the web app, it should open up a menu all contained in that chat where we can see the list of worker threads and choose one, and it's going to change the entire UI such that we're looking at that worker thread instead with a back button to go back to the orchestrator. Awesome. So this thread's going to finish up. This one's finishing up. Those are committed. These changes are made. I'm going to deploy those again, but I'm not going to hang out for another 10 minutes while it deploys. Hey, thanks for jumping into the video. Thank you for watching. I hope this is kind of interesting for you. It shows you a little bit about how AIO Assist works, shows you a little bit about what's going on in the back end. Real-time building. This product is a pretty incredible product. Again, showed it at NRB conference, got some great replies. And we are going to be at Experience Conference coming up very soon, as well as CFX, and we're going to be showing this product. So if you are interested, or you know somebody interested in moving your church's CMS to a new CMS, this is a great opportunity. There's so much that can be done. A lot of what we've worked on today is really stuff that's happening on the platform side, not so much the CMS side, although we're looking at adding these features into it as well once we flesh it out on our end. But definitely let me know what you think. Put it in the comments. Let me know if you still want to see more content like this, or if you prefer the other content. We're going to be doing both, but let me know what you think. Put it in the comments. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I can't wait to see you until next time. Thank you so much for the support.